This is the Cubs POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Cubs POSTCAST here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel, as the Chicago Cubs have officially clinched the top wild card spot in the playoffs, and playoff baseball is returning to Wrigley Field. As frustrating at times as this season has been, as fun as it's been, it's so good to be able to say that baseball is back in October at Wrigley Field. And they did it by beating the Cardinals, which makes it even just a little bit sweeter. So the Cubs win 7-3. We'll talk about Michael Busch. We'll talk about Seiya, Suzuki, Pete Crow-Armstrong, what we saw from Jameson Taillon in this game. Of course, we have to talk about Cade Horton and the fallout from his injury because right now, best case scenario, Cade Horton will return to the Cubs if they get to an NLDS Game 5. So that's obviously frustrating. But we will discuss the good stuff with today's game first before we get to the bad news that we found out beforehand. And we'll start off with our Locked On Player of the Game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's not even a question for this one. Michael Busch, 34 home runs on the season after hitting 2 today. A home run in the top of the first that made it 1-0. The home run in the bottom of the fifth that made it 3-0. And then an RBI triple to bring home Matt Shaw that gave the Cubs a 5-3 lead. After the Cardinals were making it a competitive game again. You know, it's 4-3 going into that inning. Like, you need clutch at bats. You need to give yourself cushion, and that's what Michael Busch provides. PCA adds on to that with a 2-run home run that made it 7-3. But what we're seeing from this series and this stretch of baseball now over the last 5 games from the Cubs and this lineup, in which they scored over 5 runs in 5 straight games, the lineup just looks like it's all coming together again. With Kyle Tucker returning is very important. But Michael Busch, the way he's been heating up, Seiya Suzuki, another home run in this game. Like, this guy, I mean, I saw Sam tweeting about this. Like, of course, as soon as we write off Seiya Suzuki and want Moises Ballesteros to be playing as the DH instead, and having Kyle Tucker in right field, and just not even having Suzuki in the lineup, like, that's a rational fan think. But, like, we all were thinking that way with the way that he was playing. And now Seiya Suzuki is red hot. And this team is getting hot at the right time. The Mets are teetering on not being a playoff team. The Cardinals are obviously not a playoff team. So, like, yeah, is it the same level of competition that you're going to be facing in the Padres and then potentially the Brewers? No, but it doesn't matter, because we know baseball is a sport about momentum. And the momentum is on the side of the Cubs lineup. It's why I hope tomorrow, again, we see a majority of these guys playing, you know, and at least 2 at-bats. Like, keep it hot. Keep Seiya Suzuki out there. Keep it rolling into the postseason before a day off and before this thing really gets going. You're already at home, so that's going to be a nice advantage as well for the Cubs to be able to not have to travel like the Padres will, you know, in the first round of the play or for the first wild card series. So look, it's just all much better, you know, of what it's been lately. You're just seeing another day which you have 10 hits. Like, it's not just the long ball. It's you're getting guys on base. Like, that's always the most important part. You got to get guys to come home too. But, like, if you're not going to have guys on, you know, 1-0 home runs are typically not going to be enough in the playoffs. So I feel excited just with the way that this team is playing. The vibe going in from a lineup perspective is much more positive going into the playoffs than it felt like it was ever going to be this latter half of the season. They're just collectively putting together much, much better at bats. Again, look, the Cubs are hot, as Rox says here in the chat. Let's see. Game says Busch should have a lot more of the home runs than 34, if not for Counsell not letting him hit against lefties. You know, look, I understand it. I do understand it. I don't love it, but I think it'll be really interesting what he does in the playoffs, as RDS says here in the chat. What does Counsell do if a lefty starts for the Padres? Does he sit Busch down? No, I don't think so. I do not believe Michael Busch is going to sit playoff games in favor of Justin Turner. That's not going to happen. I will be very disappointed if that happens, but I think it's all righties at the top of the Padres lineup anyway. So that, I mean, it's even let's say they go farther in the playoffs, like Michael Busch plays. You don't put that's a regular season thing. You play your best players. You play the better guy for defense because Busch is going to come in anyways, right? Like we all know that. It's Justin Turner to me is more valuable in a pinch hitting situation against a lefty for Michael Busch in the 8th or 9th inning than he is starting a game against a lefty and having Michael Busch come in, and then you lose Justin Turner later in the game. Like that to me, the value is flipped there. You got to have him there at the back end of the game, the veteran presence, the leader that he's kind of ended up being for this club in a way, like instead of starting him. So I'm assuming Craig Counsell is not going to play him against lefties. Jameson Taillon, though, he was pretty good in this one as well. Goes 6 innings, gives it 3 hits, 8 strikeouts. The strikeout numbers, Cardinals are striking out a lot. So you have 18 strikeouts or 19 strikeouts, maybe it is, between Ray and Taillon in the first 2 games of this series. So a lot of swing and miss there, which is really positive as well. And it's important because, as we talk about Cade Horton over, the next 72 hours, it's Jameson Taillon just fills that void in the playoff rotation. And he has just looked much better in his last handful of starts. Like there is, to me, like real trust in what you can see from him on the mound. And you feel like he's a guy out there that, deserves a playoff spot. And, I think we all were kind of on board of it's probably not showed us time, but now it's going to be. So we'll kind of, that one's kind of a wait and see, I think, how we all feel about it. But for today, again, Jameson Taillon was just a monster. Everything he wanted was pretty much working against him, limiting guys on base, getting the strikeouts. Again, he is just really pitching at a much better level. Honestly, it kind of feels like he's pitching at a better level than he has most of the season. He's pitching this well right now. I'm really impressed with what we've seen from Taillon after coming off his last injured stint that he had. He's just been excellent for the Chicago Cubs. All right, we'll take our break here. When we get back, we'll talk more about Cade Horton. We'll talk about what we think we're going to see tomorrow from this team and just more on this game as well, including, again, not just Seiya Suzuki, but PCA also starting to heat up a little bit, it feels like, as well. That's all coming up next year, plus your comments and questions on YouTube here on the Locked on Cubs postcast. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. That's exactly where Rugiet Go Long comes in. It's not just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. This process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rugiet, that's RUGIET.com, and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure you use our code so they know that we sent you.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
All right, so Crow-Armstrong also, I think, starting to swing the bat much better as of late. He still has his swing and miss. He's the guy I'm most curious about, where I think a lot of what the success for them this year in the postseason could be on the shoulders of Crow-Armstrong, because we see teams pitch more, for the most part, true to scouting reports. Like, he is going to have to lay off the swing and miss more in the postseason than he ever has, because that's going to be the book on him. The Padres are going to be scouted for it, and they're going to attack it probably relentlessly at this point in the postseason. So that to me is where, like, how do the Cubs go far in the postseason? I think Kyle Tucker has to start contributing to this lineup in a way, and we also have to see PCA doing much more or much less of the swing and miss. But when he does get a fastball, he's got to attack and he's got to make contact. And we saw that contact today. We saw it yesterday too. Like he is hopefully going to be able to put this thing together in the postseason like it seems like Seiya Suzuki has and Michael Busch has. Ian Happ has been much better in the lineup. Of course, Nico Horner is good. The Cubs lineup is just better. Honestly, it feels like it's better at this point than it's been in months for the Cubs. I mean, it's been a long season in a lot of ways, but this lineup looks much, much better. Now, Cade Horton, this is going to be for the portion of the show of what we'll be talking about after this game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Horton is the only thing that we're going to be talking about after this game, unfortunately, because as exciting as it is that baseball, the playoffs are back at Wrigley Field. I cannot wait. I can't wait to see when the Cubs are going to play against the Padres. It's going to be awesome. You know, we're going to see what the rotation looks like. We're going to see the lineup cards, like just how Craig Counsell is going to manage these games. But unfortunately, somehow Cade Horton fractured a rib while being sick. And it went from good to go, he's going to pitch, he wants to pitch, to all of a sudden, before a couple hours before the game today, breaking news, Cade Horton is going on the 15-day injured list. We'll see. I mean, literally yesterday, Craig Counsell said that Cade Horton feels good and expects to move forward pitching next week. That's what they said yesterday. So whatever happened in this throwing situation, which it sounds like from what they were describing, is that he was trying to change his mechanics. He wasn't able to be as effective, and it was bothering him. So this is the right decision, right? Cade Horton in a playoff series trying to change his mechanics and tough it out. Like, while I appreciate that, is that what's best for the Cubs? It's probably not. Like, and honestly, it's just not. To change what's worked so well for you, for the now, for the long term, for your arm health, all of that stuff. You don't want to be going out there and making big changes. It's a huge bummer. Like, for them to say that he's on track and to have it end in this, where 15-day injured list, and it looks like at best he could come back for the series, the final game of the NLDS is when he would be eligible, I guess, to come off at this point from the injured list. The hard part is, if it hurts to throw, like, is he not going to throw for the next 15 days? Is he going to be like slowly ramping up through it? Like what is the plan really going to be for Cade Horton? And at this point, and really it's going to ultimately depend on his teammates picking him up. Because if you had to tell me, like, when would we see Cade Horton again, my best guess would be in the NLCS if the Cubs can make it there. Like, I even struggle with the idea of, do you throw Cade Horton if he's cleared in Game 5 of the National League Division Series against the Milwaukee Brewers if he hasn't pitched in 15 days? And he's coming, and his last start was 29 pitches. Like, it's a huge disappointment. Like, to have a guy who's been as great as he is, and I definitely think it lowers the Cubs' chances to advance. Like, and now, again, we just talked all about Jameson Taillon and how good he was. My guess is the way this is going to shake out now is Boyd, Shota, and then Taillon is going to be your plan for a 3-game series. But it doesn't change what we talked about yesterday. And that's where even with Cade Horton now, like, this is where I think, Colin Ray is going to become one of the ultimate X factors, honestly, for the Cubs in the playoffs. Like, if Shota's struggling, if Boyd is struggling, if Taillon is struggling, whenever, like, those guys are down on their luck, like, whoever the first one is, like, if it doesn't happen until Game 3, that's fine. But, like, if Shota is struggling in the second game of the wild card series, and there's 100-mile-an-hour contact happening at bat after at bat, and even if the Padres aren't scoring runs, with the Cade Horton injury, like, I think Craig Counsell is going to have to be extra aggressive here in the postseason to see this team have the success and get out of it. And you just need a better version of Shota Imanaga than you've gotten. And that feels like a tall task, but it also has felt like a tall task to ask this lineup to produce in the way that they have over the last 5 games. So we'll wait and see. At this point, like, it's hard to imagine, seeing this team without Cade Horton. It's just, if anything, it's just a giant disappointing thing for the Cubs at this point as the season wraps up, because he is absolutely Rookie of the Year. He is the future of this staff, the way he pitched, and to have as great as the second half of the season, a below 1 ERA, and to have apparently getting sick costs you a postseason start, if not the entire postseason for the Cubs this year. It was just a massive disappointment on a day in which there's exciting news again that the Cubs are going to be hosting playoff games at Wrigley Field for the first time in, I don't know, since 2019, right? It's got to be since the last time they hosted a postseason series, a postseason game, because 2020 was obviously the bubble. But it's just it's kind of a weird day for Cubs fans in that way. We're all very excited, but there's obviously just a kind of a slap in the face, a little bit of just what happened. So we'll be back with you guys tomorrow after game 162, the final game of the Cubs regular season. We'll be with you here on the Locked on Cubs YouTube channel as well. After every single postseason game, Matt and Sam will have their usual shows 5 days a week as well. So it is an exciting time to see what's going on for the Chicago Cubs. Thank you all for watching, hanging out with us here on a Saturday. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.